Chapter 36. Within these messages is embedded the psychological changes of heart and mind that are required to maintain the focus of the powerful aspects of experience that constitute the human evolving within the successive steps of its journey. The focused human awareness can be observed as a matrix or pattern of energy, for that is what each is in reality. Each cell contains an electrical charge, therefore if the charges are observed they would appear as a pattern of lights surrounded by a finer thought energy that is emitted as these pass outward from the being. Since all of creation in its basic form once beyond pure potentiality is thought, and thought thinks, then it may be concluded that the totality of the human thinks. Every cell of the human body thinks. It is how feeling is experienced. It is how a deep realization can cause what you call goosebumps to arise on the body, for the entirety of the body has agreed simultaneously on a new concept of truth. That is what sends some to a doctor, because there is a knowingness from within the body that has been emitted from the body cells into the finer thought energies that surround the body, and the conscious mind has opened to receive the information. The thought function is not confined to the brain. It is the totality of the human that participates in the thinking process. Feeling is a combination of thought processes by the cells of the body utilizing the pathways of the nervous system as you use telephone lines. But just as you receive TV and cellular phone messages without the benefit of wires, so also the body has similar and far more refined capabilities. What is called intuition is an illustration of this more refined ability. It is a knowingness that takes place at a cellular level and registers in the awareness at varying degrees of understanding, depending on the belief system of the individual. The brain is designed to participate in a multitude of processes. It houses the most vulnerable and finely tuned of the endocrine glands. The precious secretions of the pituitary and pineal glands are the drivers of the human body, mind awareness. The brain is the switching station for the receiving and transmitting of the thinking process. The combined thought process of the body wholeness is gathered and focused through the brain mechanism that it may be exchanged between humans. However, it must pass through the belief system stored in the finer energies that surround the body and hold the belief patterns of not only the individual's experiences, but also contains the norms of the experience and belief patterns of the various levels of experience of the entire planet. One function of the brain is to register and read that information upon request. Thus when certain parts of the brain are stimulated, it reads not itself, but the stored data that is within the appropriate surrounding fine energy. Each human brings its entire history of existence with it stored in this incredibly intelligent energy that surrounds it. This then explains one reason that humanity on this planet cannot enter the higher dimensions as it is now, for those beings are able to read the finer surrounding energy and know all there is to know about each one, every thought and intention. This is the source of what you call telepathy. How is this possible? It is the degree of activity of those two glands held within the brain, the pituitary and the pineal, that is the key to what you call spiritual progress. The protection of these glands has been provided for by what is called the blood-brain barrier. Only very tiny molecules are able to pass through this barrier. Unfortunately for humanity at this time, crossing this barrier is now possible. Fortunately, there are those individuals who upon learning this are devoting great effort to get information out to make as many as possible aware. It is not only what is eaten, but also what is put on the body for cleanliness and other reasons that now contain destructive molecules that can and do cross that blood-brain barrier. These are causing great damage to the human brain as well as the rest of the body. For personal protection and the protection of the generations of the future, each messenger must become aware of these dangers and strive to find the safest available alternatives for themselves as well as to carry the message to others. There are alternatives available, but it will require effort to search them out. It is important to know and to read what is within each before buying. It will be time better spent than in front of the propaganda tube. Again, the focus is on the chaos rather than the goal. But the goal is of no benefit if there are not humans in wholeness to bring forth and enjoy the manifestation of the new paradigm of experience. Thus it is important that certain awareness be made particularly known. There is methodology in development that allows for the return of damaged DNA to wholeness without man-made chemicals that are now being developed for that purpose. Beware of man-made intervention at these early stages. Nature has provided even this process for the preservation of the human in wholeness. There are indeed safeguards to protect humanity from self-destruction if it is studied within nature rather than pursuing the deliberately distorted guidance now being provided to the planners of enslavement. Though much is done in the competition, greed mode, it is underlain by the intentional provision of information that serves the enslavement purpose. Each committed and focused member of the New Paradigm Project must practice discernment as the awareness of the picture begins as an outline and infills with information without becoming lost in the enormity and detail of the opposition's plan. It must be held in the background while the focus remains in place on the desired new paradigm. There will be quite naturally perusals through curiosity into the activities and plans of the Dark Ones, but these must be kept in perspective. The new paradigm must be held at the forefront of the focused awareness in order that it may manifest into its intended blessing. Chapter 37. The progression of the plan of the enslavement of humanity proceeds down its apparently inevitable path, and mankind as a whole stumble along into the planned containment. It is difficult to include within these messages the information that it is necessary to be known without triggering fear. Yet fear is a most effective attention device, and one that is planned to be used to the full degree of its potential to shock people into full awareness. Thus it is necessary that the plan for the new paradigm include utilizing this planned episode to its advantage. In other words, to divert this potential to fit within the plan to return humanity to its rightful place within the flow of creation. In order to accomplish this, there must be a core group of dedicated humans already awake and aware that has progressed through the potential fear and well in control of their reactive modes of behavior. In order to accomplish this, these must be able to transcend the planned response and quickly attain and retain the observer mode. Without this ability, the capacity and competency to accomplish their mission that will be critical in that moment will be lost. As these who choose to become part of this plan make it a point to become aware of the plans, knowing it is a necessary component of the foundation upon which the birth of the new paradigm rests, it will allow the observer mode to be experienced into wisdom. It will be easy to lapse into emotional reactions. However, the emotions are not to be the controlling factor. Creation is logical. Therefore, in order to create, manifest into reality, a new paradigm of experience, those doing so must focus within logic. It certainly would not be logical to accomplish this by joining in the reaction that is intended by the enslavers. It then becomes necessary that there be a critical number of humans that rise above their natural inclination to be part of the intended mass reaction. In order to do this, these self-chosen individuals, singularly or in small groups, will find it necessary to inform themselves of as much of the plan as possible. It will be necessary to embrace their feelings about these plans within the full knowledge that it is for the purpose of experiencing them into the purposeful wisdom of attaining the observer mode. It is through this observation ability that clear and logical decisions can be made in the moment, not in retrospect when it is too late to accomplish what would have been possible in the precious moment lost. The necessary information can be quickly learned within small discussion groups, for then the material available through the yet free flow of books, radio talk shows and the internet can be researched and shared. It must be considered in the sharing that the plans that will be revealed are not as much the flat pieces of a jigsaw puzzle being fitted together, as they are a holographic puzzle. To illustrate that concept, there are wooden or plastic puzzles that create a sphere when placed together in the proper combination. These are more challenging than the flat puzzles, and the intricacy involved illustrates the extent to which the planning of hundreds of years has been required to bring so many to such an effective point. It then will also illustrate all that can be negated through the simplicity of a plan that is devised within the flow of creation compared to one that is not. The complication facing the messengers of creation, which is indeed what each one committed to the New Paradigm Project is spearheading the consciousness change from victimhood to self-empowerment. It appears that only through desperate circumstances is the programmed human willing to give up deeply ingrained beliefs, though the experience of these beliefs has not brought to them the promised benefits. The practice in holding on to these takes them deeper and deeper in a downward spiral as they continue to fail to come to the realization that doing more of something that does not work will not make it work. Fear of the unknown locks them into unproductive behavior and illustrates the limitation of the victim consciousness that is being promoted to the maximum extent in this gross exploitation and degradation of the humans on this planet. The question put to each reader of this material is whether or not to remain within the group headed to inevitably miserable deaths or enslavement as further mutated survivors, or to climb out onto the rock of observation. Once outside the mass awareness, that is truly a lack of awareness, then the mission becomes twofold. Gathering others willing to assist and together birthing the new paradigm. It is hoped that complexity will be avoided and simplicity will be strictly adhered to. It is complexity that scatters the focus. The more simple the focus, the more quickly the manifestation will occur. Further, those not resonating quickly to the information are to be released and allowed to remain where they are. The seed is planted, and those may yet follow at a more appropriate time. Never attempt to convince anyone. Like the folk hero, Johnny Appleseed, plant and move on to the next possible appropriate contact. Though the planter may not observe the result by the law of averages is assured. Releasing each contact to their own destiny is practicing the law of allowance. When it is unnecessary to defend the comfort zone, logic will often filter through the emotions, and these may seek the planter out when it is obvious there is no necessity to defend their beliefs. The desire for a solution to the intuitional awareness that all is not well is the field of opportunity for the entrance of a new archetype or ideal mode of experience. The coin of impending disaster has on its other side the opportunity for its opposite, what might be called heaven on earth in the Christian idiom, a hope contained in all religions. It would seem that to be an instrumental part of providing Earth's people the opportunity to experience this dream into reality would be a worthy goal. The choice lies within both logic and emotion as it is pondered carefully. End chapter 37.